Today, we'll be presenting the findings of our turning movement count study. So the data collected on South Marietta Parkway eastbound was collected on February 8th at 3 to 4 p.m., while the remaining data for all other approaches were recorded from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. on February 6th. Under ideal circumstances, this study should have been recorded on the same day. However, because the time of day is similar, we are able to make valid findings in order to understand the importance of TMC studies. So this is what we recorded on South Marietta Parkway eastbound. Then the objective of this traffic study is to assess the distribution of traffic among all approaches, identify approaches with higher traffic volumes, determine movements with elevated traffic volumes, analyze approaches with increased heavy vehicle volume, evaluate peak hour factors, and identify heavy turning volumes that exceed a single cycle capacity. Through comprehensive data collection and analysis, the study aims to provide insights into traffic distribution patterns, volume trends, and potential capacity constraints at specified intersections, enabling informed decision-making for traffic management and infrastructure improvements. Dallin, Davis, and Torrey collected the data, then Dallin and Torrey recorded the data. Torrey interpreted and analyzed the data, and then I wrote the introduction objective. Davis wrote the discussion, and Brad wrote the conclusion.
So moving on into results, this is a breakdown by vehicle type that we did for our viewpoint, so only our video. And so we had 64% of cars going straight, 20% of cars going right, and then 1% of heavy vehicles going right, and 26% of heavy vehicles going straight. 3%, sorry. And then this is the PHF. So 0.25 indicates all of peak hour traffic occurs during one 15-minute interval. So we can see that that occurs mostly for the movement counts across all roads, and for the approaches in the whole intersection, it's closer to 1. So that indicates that it's spread out evenly between all of the all of the roads. And so then we made a breakdown of movement and by approach for the number of total vehicles. And as we can see, for the approaches, northbound was 30%, southbound was 20%, eastbound was 20%, and westbound was 27%. And for the movements, we can see that the total right was 6%, the total left was 22%, and the total straight was 72%.
The eastbound approach view for the study was conducted at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. on a Thursday, where the traffic volume would be at one of its highest points in the day. It should be noted that some of the approaches were taken at different times of the day than when the eastbound approach was recorded, which could possibly impact our results. There was not an even distribution among all the movements, with very little vehicles making a right turn, and the vast majority of the vehicles were going straight through the intersection. The approaches were fairly evenly distributed, with the majority of the vehicles traveling northbound, and the lowest amount of vehicles were traveling southbound.
Okay, so in conclusion, you can see here this figure kind of represents all of the data that we collected. The approaches were actually pretty similar. There weren't too many outliers. The one thing that is clear is that the straight bound direction was by far the most used direction. So as I said, the traffic was distributed almost 50-50 between the two roads. So that's between east-west and north-south. And then between the individual approaches, northbound and westbound had the highest traffic volume, which can be associated with commuters traveling away from Atlanta. Traffic moving straight had the highest volume at 72%, indicating people traveling through the area and not necessarily stopping or using this intersection as a junction to change direction. Westbound approach had the highest heavy vehicle volume, likely due to trucks exiting the interstate to distribute their cargo. And then east and west approaches have the highest peak hour factor, indicating that most of the traffic is moving through those. We observed there are multiple approaches that could not be served for a single signal cycle. So we do think that further study needs to be done to possibly increase the flow capacity in each direction. So here are our references, and that'll do it. Thank you very much.